Traveling the country, watching her son play college football, to running the New York City Marathon, board of directors for the New York Self-Storage Association, and a leader in the self-storage industry. Proud to welcome to the Stories Behind the Door podcast, the National Director of Third-Party Management for the William Warren Group, StoreQuest, Rona Siegel. We have got a great story today. I'm almost ready to deviate from my norm and start with a different question than I always do, but I'm not going to. Before we dive in to Rona Siegel, who's joining us on the show today, I'm going to give a shout out to my friends at Kiwi 2 Construction. So happy that they're the sponsor of our podcast. Make these incredible stories of people in the self-storage industry possible. Shout out to Wayne Woolsey and his crew at Kiwi 2, 30 plus years of providing steel in the self-storage industry. Give them a holler if you need any ground up construction help. I'm going to dive right in. As I said, we got a great story going on today. I'm going to circle back to that, though. I always start the podcast the same way. Self-storage is such a special industry. It's such a niche industry. And I love to hear, Rona, how people found themselves in this wonderful asset class.
It was by chance. I had worked with a developer in Yonkers, New York, to build some high-rise luxury housing before the crash of the market, and that was winding down. I was looking for the next gig, and like so many people, a recruiter called, and I was lucky enough to, land the job. It took 4 or 5 interviews, and they really needed somebody on the East Coast. Our company is West Coast based, and now it's been 10 years later.
It's so fascinating. Obviously, with the William Warren Group, StoreQuest is the trade name. My boss at S3 Partners, Barry Sherman, was involved with the Hobans on their very first ground up construction project. So really cool to kind of circle around and be able to have you on the podcast. Tell me a little bit about the company and what it's been like working for them.
It is such a different company in this world of storage. I think being a lifestyle brand and having Bill Hoban at the front and center, and who created this company in 1994, literally by managing a storage facility for someone else, he shaped it in a fun way, a creative way. We have several brand ambassadors like Tony Hawk and Kelly Slater. Some of our ads and Instagrams you'll see are surfing or mountain climbing or planting trees in a forest for, the environment. We really think outside the box, and you'll find that energy goes through everyone in the company, whether it be marketing or a real estate team or down to our construction team in Costa Mesa. So company's been in business about 31 years.
I love that. Barry always mentions that when he talks about back in the days. Like he always says, I knew Bill Hoban when he was still carrying the surfboard on his back and had long hair coming to meetings, which is kind of cool, that Southern California lifestyle. What's it been like for you? Obviously, Connecticut, little different lifestyle. I'm an East Coast guy too. You go out to the West Coast, little different vibe. How have you been able to incorporate kind of that vibe into how you're working with the company?
Well, I think, it comes from the top down. Obviously, I think you get excited and rejuvenated, whether it be a Zoom call or you're actually flying out to Santa Monica. I remember during COVID, we tried really hard to keep those Zoom calls going, whether it was trivia night or something else. But it's a pretty close knit group of people, long term people who are enjoying what they're doing. And I think I was attracted to the company. I don't have to be on the West Coast to run the New York Marathon, which I've done 3 times. I think some of the people in this firm, or most, are just they dig the adventures. We're not afraid to, do a 60-mile bike ride or try something different. So I was attracted to that for sure.
We're going to pivot now, and you opened the door for me so well to be able to do this. And we're going to get to the story of you actually making the time to come on the podcast. But New York Marathon, that's not a small endeavor, 3 times. Talk to me about that part of your life, obviously outside of work and the role of those things that keep you moving.
I initially managed assets 30 years ago for the government of Singapore in New York City. That was my role. And after watching the marathon,
What were you, 12?
yes, let's just go with that. And long story short, I saw 2 marathons, 2 years in a row, and thought I need to try this. And so 98 was the first marathon, then again in 2000. The reason I did it again is I was running with someone who was injured, and she walked, so I walked. So I felt like I got robbed. I think the energy in that city, as you know, it's contagious. It's New York. It's just like any other, Boston, Chicago. And after doing it solo, it just changed my life. And then, I waited 17 years to do it again when I turned 50. And that was in 2017. And so it's fabulous. You got to do it. And it's not about the time. I mean, it is for some people, but for me, it was really the high of the people in the crowds.
I'm working my way up there. I ran a half marathon in Kansas City last year, but I got a little bit of work to do to get to the full marathon. I got a buddy that keeps bugging me every day though, so we're on our way there. I'm gonna transition a little bit into your family because you shot me a text last night. It must have been 7:30, and you were a little nervous. You weren't gonna
Oh,
make it back home. You were traveling. Talk to me about your son and the journey you've been on with him for the last 4 years.
yeah, college sports, as we know, is sort of turned upside down. My son, here in Connecticut, went to a local high school and played really good football. He also was one of those children affected by COVID. So he had, worked really hard and had a lot of looks from different colleges. And COVID hit, and Connecticut did not allow football. So that changed courses for a little bit. But getting him back on track, his offers came back around, and he was lucky enough to accept an offer from Vanderbilt to play football, and that was year 1 with Coach Lee, Clark Lee, who obviously most have heard that he's turned that program around or on its head. It's amazing. So I texted you because I was at the airport and was having a hard time getting out because of the closures and TSA and whatever. But we made it and we won the game. So
Love that. Your son's an offensive lineman on the Vanderbilt team. Obviously, Diego Pavia, who I've heard of, is now like in contention for the Heisman and really raised the profile of that program in an amazing way. What's it like for you as a mom to be able to go and follow your son?
I'm so proud. I have a daughter also, which I could talk about all day.
Let's go. That's what this thing's about. It's stories.
At Tulane, who is a senior there. But for me, watching both the kids just flourish, I think the key for us in parenting, my husband Bob and I, is just I want them to be happy and thriving and fighting for what's next in life. And there's a lot of things that get turned upside down. Sometimes you're a star, sometimes you're not. Sometimes you're a starter, sometimes you're not. So I think the discipline and what he's learned and watching him grow as a human being into an adult that he is. He graduated about a month ago with his undergrad degree in about 3 years, so I'm really proud of him. He's in grad school there now, and so he'll leave Vanderbilt with, 2 degrees, maybe 3. And you wanna give them the best, opportunities and doors open, but I've gotta say he did all the work. We raised him, but, he is a big kid. He's 6'6", 312 pounds, so he's a big boy. Yeah, he's
I
loving
love
it.
it.
It's great, and Diego Pavia, just a shout out to him. He is salt of the earth, most caring, most considerate, thoughtful. He, definitely brings it on the field, but off the field, salt of the earth, really is.
That's gotta be great for you, obviously, being at the level that you're at with a group like StoreQuest and the William Warren Group operating at a really high level, to see your son in an environment with a coach and a quarterback that are operating at a high level. What's it like to watch him in that environment?
Incredible. I think the SEC is, the SEC. So to be in some of those environments in the crowd and, watching him run on the field, it's hard not to cry as a mother. It's also the friendships we've made along the way with other families. But
Yeah.
watching him on the field, I'm really proud of him. I'm proud of his studies. I'm proud of him athletically. I think, speaking of marathons, he's running the Nashville Marathon when football wraps up this year. And he
Wow.
ends his football career, so I'm excited. Nashville Marathon. He, is excited not to be 312 pounds. So I think running that marathon was his own goal.
That's fantastic. And talk to me about your daughter. Obviously, balancing that out. You go and watch your son and the football, and you have that. Tell me a little bit about your daughter and her.
Yeah,
And
she is amazing. She is definitely someone that will work and live in New York City. She has, life in her hands. It feels like she did go abroad her junior semester and was able to visit 9 countries. I mean, as someone who's 20 years old to see the world in that manner, a very lucky child, but also she's extremely hardworking and takes her studies and what she's doing very seriously. She fell in love with New Orleans, the culture, the people. Tulane requires you to do so many hours of community service each month. So she may be, volunteering in an animal shelter or a homeless shelter. So I really think that just is who Jackie is. She's hungry to learn, but also hungry to give. So excited to have her back near us in New York and land that job. She'll graduate in May, but she's great. She is not 6'6", 312 pounds. She's pretty much my build, um, luckily.
I love it. I want to meet your husband because obviously he must be. I've met you in person. I know you are not the reason your
No,
son is 6'6", three
no.
twelve. That's fantastic. Talk to me a little bit about, and I'm going to dig into this. Obviously, I have this tattoo on my arm that you can't really see, but it's my reminder daily. It's the evolution chart, and it's my reminder daily that my kids are what it's all about, right? It's that whatever I do, it's to create a platform for them, and it's obvious with you that that's essential to your, your mission in life. What is it your husband and yourself have done to create this level of success for your kids to help give them that platform? I'd
I
love some pointers.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a journey. It's hard. It hasn't always been easy. I don't want to make it sound as though it was happy and bubbles and cake all day long. It's a journey. And I think teaching them that disappointment is part of the life and things are hard and you won't get everything that you are looking for in life. Um, but we have instilled in them to always do for others. They recently, a couple of years ago in the heart of football season, I donated a kidney to someone. And so we are, that was a family decision. That was tough. It was someone I knew personally, one of my best friend's husband. So I think you have to, we're only on this earth once. And as lucky as we are, there's many, many more that are not. So I think the secret is give them the tools to just live life, but also remember to do for others. Wholeheartedly, for sure.
Amazing story. And I'm going to circle back a little bit to the storage side of it because you're not just working for William Moore. Like your role as the overseer of third party management for them doesn't give enough work to you. I'm going to start out with the NYSSA board and the time commitment and the work you're doing for them, and tell me why you got involved with that, and why it's important for you to be involved in the New York Self Storage Association.
Yeah, it is an incredible group of people that are in a room, everyone trying to do business in the storage industry. As we know, it's the asset class now that everyone wants to be in. So if you're just entering it or would like to survive in it or grow in it, you've got, industry leaders with decades of experience, both on the vendor side, owner side, financing side. So I really wanted to be around peers that I could grow, not only in my role at William Warren and StoreQuest, but also in the industry in New York. If you haven't heard of it, it's great. It's nyselfstorage.org. I think you know that you and I were at the fall in Westchester, but we do have our investment forum coming up on January 7th in New York City on Park Ave. So for those that do not know, the agenda's online. It is the New York self storage event. I think you said it. It is hundreds of people. We do sell out, so you want to get your tickets before. But you've got finance panels. You have industry leaders talking about how they're running. These are individuals that have hundreds, some have thousands of storage facilities. So it's a room you want to work for sure.
I would just say it's the best event I've been to in storage, period. Forget about a state association. I go to the national SSA events, go to different state events. For my money, I've gotten more tangible information out of the investment forum than anything else I've been to. The quality of people you guys put on stage at that event is second to none.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I definitely do. I think when you can hear from Talinvest and they are just pointing questions at some of the banks and who's out there and who's lending and what are you doing with rates? How are you coming up with rates in a time where it's, difficult to do? It's good
I flash back to 2024, and you had the five REITs, Life Storage and Extra had combined by that time, but U-Haul was up there with the other four. And it was the first time I'd ever heard ECRIs, and all five heads of the it wasn't the CEOs, but someone close to the top were talking about ECRIs. And this is a year before it really became a topic of general discussion in the industry. Being at that investment forum put me that far ahead. So for those of you watching, if you're not planning on going to the investment forum, I'm impartial. I'm not part of the person organizing it. Best event I've ever been to. So you guys do such a phenomenal job with that. Talk to me a little bit about the relevance, especially now. Obviously, we saw SB 709 get put into place out in California. There's some stuff going on in the New York City Council that's kind of making rumblings about different things that they're trying to enact in the storage space. How important is it to have these local state SSA boards being involved?
Oh, it's very important. There was a law that was attempting to get passed, and a young lady had her unit auctioned off, and her passport was in the unit. We would have no idea that the passport's in there if it's in a box or in a drawer. And they were trying to pass a law that would require hotel safes in every storage unit. So if you auction the units, the items in the storage safe wouldn't go, which would just be a headache from, start to finish. So luckily that did not happen. So having lobbyists, having, people at the state that we can talk to, and we're very active in that role. I think it's very important that you understand what could affect us right now. How we do auctions is important. For California, the SB 709 was the same thing that was almost passed, where it would basically cap the rental rates that you could only do a certain amount. You brought up ECRIs, and they are great, but I think because of the way they've been handled, and the rate increases are through the roof, people are running to their senators, and they're running to, their constituents are yelling and asking for this. So it's very important that we stay front and center.
Obviously a very you talked about everyone running to self-storage, and this is kind of the de jure asset class of the day, especially as we've seen so much pain in the office and even in the multifamily space over the last few years. And ECRIs are a big part of the attraction of storage, right? That ability to raise rates on people because you're on a month-to-month lease. On the flip side, maybe the percentage of rate increases that got to be pretty normal over the last couple of years. Obviously, you're in charge of third party management for StoreQuest. Talk to me a little bit about how you folks as a company have handled that, and obviously you've got a store in a market where there's another REIT presence. You're sort of beholden to try and stay competitive. So talk to me a little bit about strategy wise, how StoreQuest been able to deal with that.
It's such a great question. I think number one, you start with really good service. So when a customer is upset and they come in and got a $64 increase, and you're able to give that person, the manager on site or the call center, whoever's picking that up, that is also in house with us, to give them the ability to negotiate that rate or explain why that rate increase is there, that you came in on a special rate, that ends, and what the increase is covering. You then are able to convince someone to not move. Nobody really, after moving into a storage unit, even if you get a better deal down the street, wants to empty that contents, load the truck, and then unload it again. So I think it comes down to having the right people in the right positions, and we've certainly done that. We have only 5 people in the entire 24/7 call center that can negotiate those, but they answer the one phone number that every customer is given. You have to do this to remain competitive. You really do. You're absolutely right. I think if you are near REITs or have them in your 2 mile or 5 mile, there is a math game that's being played. You just need to be savvy, but you also need to be prepared to sometimes come back off that if you're going to lose a customer. You need to understand where your vacancies are and where you can push it or not. So having a really strong revenue management system. Ours is proprietary. We have our own. You really want to make sure you find someone that understands all facets of that, so you don't have a hard time leasing up, or you lease up at too low of a rates or not fast enough and ramping those up. We understand that you can give rent increases, but you need to know when and which unit.
I'm interested to get to kind of go down a road here. We're reaching this place in the industry. I mentioned the Life Storage and Extra merger a little earlier. Smart Stop and Snap, excuse me, Go Store and Snapbox combined. Smart Stop just bought the Argus third-party management platform for a deal that today's numbers 23 million in cash, 11.5 million in stock options. I mean, crazy transactions that are going on in the self-storage industry. How important is it today? You mentioned you guys have in-house call center, you have in-house software revenue management system. Are we at this point in this industry where to compete, you're gonna have to be at that type of a level?
I definitely agree. I mean, that is my sales pitch when I talk to owners, is that to remain competitive in an environment with some owners that have 1,000, 2,000, or 3,000 units, if you do not have every one of your systems running on high and running with the right people, I get nervous that, just like you said, with companies joining forces or just starting third party management, that people are not familiar. They may know the name or know the sign, but if they haven't been doing management for others for a while, like us, for over 3 decades, you should dive in on that. You should talk to their existing customers who they're managing for. You should ask, how often can I talk to revenue management to the team? May I do a separate marketing call with your in-house marketing? So I am really passionate and proud, and it's easy for me to sell and explain the StoreQuest brand that they've created, because everything we do is in-house. We have construction management services. We have, you know, um, Market research is right there next to Bill's office. So owners on our platform have the ability, instead of a staff of 15, can say to us as one of our customers, I'm looking in the Iowa market. Is Iowa worth building in, buying in? What are the rates? So I think if you find something that's one stop shopping and has been doing it for a while, uh, that's where I would go for sure. To remain competitive, you have to, because with online presence and awareness, if you're not doing top notch marketing and everything else, you'll lose. You won't get the rates they're getting.
I'm interested to pick your brain a little bit. Obviously, I come from the development side of it. My passion is ground up. Obviously, Barry Sherman, my boss at S3 Partners, that's been his bread and butter for 30 plus years. We won't buy a value add acquisition. Like I told someone today, don't even send it to me. I just want raw dirt, maybe a conversion we'd look at. But that side of the industry has contracted massively. Radius Plus will tell you there's less than 600 deliveries on track for 2025, down from 1,300 on average each of the 2 years previous to that. How is that affecting you guys on the third party management side of it? Are you seeing a slowdown in the number of people coming at you, or is maybe there a pickup on the side of existing properties that are looking to a different option for third party management?
You nailed it. It's the latter. People are literally understanding that for them and existing facilities to compete, they need to figure out how they can get rates up, how they can increase the value of their assets. So I think by development slowing, people are really honing in on what they already own and how it was supposed to perform. They go back to performance and look, we've missed it. It's not there. Who do we get that understands that? Who can help us ramp that up over time? And also some realistic projections, not some that are just put on paper to show the bank so that the financing goes through. But yes, I agree with you. Development is definitely slowed almost to zero, but I think that will come back as people start to move and buy and interest rates change. You know, you hear Storage Mart talk about lifestyle. It's as lifestyle changes and people divorce and marry and buy and sell, it will come back. But right now, definitely, I think having the right operator is key.
I'm interested to know from your side of it, and I'm going to ask a random question. If you don't know the answer, don't worry about it. But the SSA did it. It might have been ISS. I can't remember. One of them put something out about a year ago about Gen Z and millennials and the percentage at which they're renting self storage, which is like wildly higher. I think it's 16% versus 6 for baby boomers. I'm Gen X. We're at 12. We're a little slower than baby boomers. Not quite, or excuse me, a little more than baby boomers. Not quite where millennials and Gen Z. I'm interested to know if maybe the housing market doesn't come back in the way it was in our lifetime, but can storage survive with a new you talk lifestyle? Like maybe it's not the sale of houses, maybe it's just living in a smaller space. And do we still as an industry have a place in that dynamic? I'm interested to get your thoughts.
Definitely, I think people can't throw things away. They are keeping grandma's sofa. They are not, they are hoping that the furniture they have, they will eventually sell or clean that out. I think as Americans, we tend to hold on to our items and put projects off, and so I think storage will never go away. I do think that we have to look at, are we oversupplied? Do we continue to build or keep where we're at? But no, I think for us, the demand for storage is there. The average stay has gone up, as you know. People are not taking their items out of storage. So I don't think it will go away. I think we just have to be smart and not overbuild in an area that's already oversupplied. But there's lots of land in Texas. There's lots of land in Chicago and Indiana. So I think, looking at other markets could work.
I get up on my soapbox on my other podcast at least once a month, and I'm like, if you're going to develop, talk to some people that know what they're talking about before you do it, please, 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 because biggest threat we have is development in areas that definitely don't need it. I want to transition a little bit and pick your brain a little bit. You mentioned call center and you mentioned being able to speak to someone. A lot of times it's not the manager on site anymore. I'm interested to get your thoughts on where we're going with technology. What do you see come? Obviously, AI is the big word of the day, and I'm interested to see how you see that impacting the operational side of storage.
Oh, I think it's endless, the possibilities. You can put your T12 of your unit stats report and see which units are renting. You can put those into AI to say, what months is this unit type most popular? What day of the week are more customers coming in? You could close on that one day that it is slow historically. I think technology will come around. There's a lot of locking mechanisms that you can open your unit, remotely and not be there. I do have some hesitancy though with fully remote completely, because I think the stories you and I have heard over the decades, too many things can go wrong in an empty building. But I do think technology wise, as far as pricing and construction and changing things, and it's going to save us some money and time, and be able to price a lot better than a human being can.
Rona Siegel, cannot thank you enough for after a late night of travel and go and by the way, just made me have so much more admiration and respect for you to go follow your son in that way, and obviously the way you feel about your daughter. If somebody's interested in third party management, they want to get a hold of StoreQuest, maybe they're looking at a new site and want to get your market report to give them some insight. What's the easiest way for them to get a hold of you?
Thank you. I see my email on the screen. Happy to do that. Just drop me an email or go to storequest.com. There's a third party tab there that will come directly to me. I'm happy to chat with you. It's an industry that, if you're going to get into, knowledge is power. Happy to answer a question or put you in the right direction if I'm not your fit or you need something else. And you can always go to the nyselfstorage.org. They also have a really good Q&A page. But thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it. And I'm glad we made this happen.
Absolutely, my pleasure. January 7th, the investment forum. You can find that information at the New York Self Storage Association website as well. Strongly encourage you guys, if you haven't been to that event yet, it is an absolute blast. She is Rona Siegel, Director of Third Party Management for the William Warren Group. StoreQuest, I'm Thaddeus Campbell. That is it for this week's edition of the Stories Behind the Door podcast. Going to give one more shout out to the team at Kiwi 2 Construction. Wayne Woosley and his crew, 30 plus years of doing steel in the industry. Nothing but respected across the whole industry. So if you guys have any needs for ground up construction, reach out to Wayne and his team at kiwi2construction.com. And guys, really happy to have had Rona on the show today. What a fabulous story. Appreciate you for sharing it so much. That's it for this episode. We'll see you next week.